Linkage institutions. All right, Unit 3, Video 3. We're going to talk about demographics of each party as well as coalitions and how those different people come together to vote for one specific party. All right, so we have a number of things that make up our political parties, region, gender, etc. And the thing we're going to focus on in this video is how certain parties are changing with regards to their demographics. All right, a lot of this is pretty basic and a lot of it is pretty similar to Unit 2, so without spending too much time on any one item here, the South used to be Democratic in the past. Up until about 1964, it was strongly Democratic. For the last 40, 50 years or so, it has been gradually becoming more and more Republican until you can look and see the electoral map, which actually isn't right there because it has Florida as Republican, so that's a little weird. But the point is that the South is Republican, the Northeast is Democrat. Okay? All right, gender, again, we've done this before. Women tend to vote Democrat. As far as a shift that we can look at, a change, men are becoming more Republican. All right, race and ethnicity, everybody's favorite stereotype. We have minorities and we have whites, and we have minorities tend to vote Democratic. White people tend to vote Republican. Obviously, these are broad stereotypes, not always true, but that is what I want you to know for this test. Socioeconomic status and income. Republicans tend to have people who are executives, white-collar careers, so people making a decent amount of money. I'm not really sure what those guys are doing in the picture, but when you Google image search executives, they come up. All right, who votes for Democrats? Lawyers, educators, meaning teachers or professors, and people from labor unions. So, Better Call Saul, he would probably be a Democrat. You see in the other picture people marching, protesting, part of a labor union. We're talking that would be factory workers, construction workers, things like that, blue-collar, manual labor type of jobs. So these groups tend to be Democrat. All right, religion. Again, we did this with ideology earlier. White Protestants tend to be Republican, Jewish tends to be Democrat, and Catholics, that's a change. We have them shifting from Democrat to Republican. Obviously, the big issue with Catholics would be pro-choice, pro-life. So since Roe versus Wade, they used to be strongly Democrat. Today, they aren't strongly associated with either party, but they are shifting towards the Republican Party. All right, this one's odd, but it's in your textbook, so here you go. Marital status. Married people are more likely to be Republican. So there you go. Age. All right, this one I do want you to take notice of because it's a little bit different. The youngest and oldest voters both tend to vote Democrat for very different reasons. Middle-aged voters tend to vote Republican. All right, so the youngest voters, they vote Democrat typically because they are socially liberal. On the other hand, the oldest voters tend to vote Democrat because they are economically liberal and they want social programs like Social Security and Medicare. So that's why they tend to vote Democrat, whereas young people tend to vote Democrat based on social issues. All right, so coalition. Coalition is when different groups of people join together and they cooperate for a common cause. All right, so my picture there, you see the USA basketball team from 2012. You got LeBron, Kobe, KD, and for some reason Darren Williams is in that picture. I'm not exactly sure why. Oh wait, is that Chris Paul? No, it looks like Darren Williams. All right, so either way, the idea here is that during the regular NBA season, they obviously are all on their own teams. They have, they play against each other. But then the Olympics come around and they come together. They join for a common cause. That common cause is to beat the rest of the world, win gold for America. Once they did that and they won their gold medal, guess what? They all went back to their separate teams, back their own ways. So a coalition is when you're from different groups, but you come together for some reason. That can happen with people voting for political parties, or it can also happen where different interest groups that usually don't cooperate, they come together for some reason. Two examples of coalitions. The first one is the New Deal coalition. These are the people who voted for FDR back in the 30s and 40s. What you might notice looking at this list, these people are very, very different from each other. You have labor unions, so that means blue-collar labor, manual type of work jobs. Academics, so college professors. Minorities, farmers, and white Southerners. So especially minorities and white Southerners should probably stick out to you as being a little bit different, seeing as we're in the 1930s and 40s, and these two groups obviously were very different from each other. You had one group that obviously was demanding and wanted civil rights. You have the other group that wanted segregation and did not want to give civil rights. And yet, they both voted for the same party. They both voted for Democrats. So again, this is a good example of where different groups that don't necessarily agree on things, they might come together for a common purpose. And that purpose was vote for FDR. And the reason most likely was because his programs and policies favored poor people. And whether you're a minority or a white Southerner, there's a good chance in the 1930s, Great Depression, that you were poor. So they both voted for the same guy. You have another coalition called the Conservative Coalition. This one isn't so important. It was big in the 1980s and 1990s. Today it has really disappeared off the scene. The idea is that you had Southern Democrats who would vote with the Republicans on social issues. And lastly in this section, this video, we have party activists. So these are people that are really involved, all right? The people who vote, who campaign, who protest, who go to rallies, that sort of thing. Key thing is that they are more ideological than the average party member. So if they're Democrat, they're probably going to be really Democrat, really liberal. If they're Republican, they're going to be very Republican, very conservative. So they are more ideological than just your typical Republican and Democrat.